Right in the middle of the sweltering heat of the Florida Everglades, reports of mosquitoes the size of elephants, no water to clean yourself, and food that has worms in it. Those stomach-churning details come from an inmate inside the new Florida Immigration Detention Center known as Alligator Alcatraz. And this weekend, members of the Florida State Legislature and Congress will be able to go inside for the first time to see the facility for themselves. Joining me now is NBC South Florida's Hatzel Vela, who has been reporting by talking to inmates inside Alligator Alcatraz. Also here, State Senator Shevrin Jones, who will be on that tour on Saturday. Hatzel, tell us more about what you heard, what you learned about the inside of Alligator Alcatraz.
Well, Chris, first, thank you so much for having us, because we believe this is an issue, not just here in South Florida, but an issue that should be watched across the country. Let me tell you, we've been talking to family after family, and there seems to be a trend, a pattern when it comes to the complaints about what's happening inside the facility. And we're hearing anything from not enough access to showers, bad food, extreme temperatures, whether it's from hot to cold. They just seem to be always complaining about that. And then, of course, you mentioned it yourself, the size of the mosquitoes. One gentleman told us that they're the size of elephants. The second concern that we should talk about for these folks is that access to immigration attorneys. They say they haven't been able to see their immigration attorneys so that folks can understand at home watching. Typically in an ICE detention facility, you do get access to your immigration attorney. Not the case here, and we believe that's the case because, remember, this is a facility, Chris, run by the state, and it has been a facility where little people have been able to go inside to see what's really actually going on. We've been getting these stories, not just from relatives, but also from the detainees themselves by using their phones.
So, Senator, you are going to have a chance to go in this weekend. What are you expecting to see?
First of all, I expect to see a very sanitized facility, and we will only see what the administration want us to see. Here's the facts. We have the text messages. As a matter of fact, I just got a text message from another family member who's inside the facility. So we know that this worst of the worst rhetoric that is absolutely false. That is coming from the Trump administration.
Let me ask you, can you tell me what was in that text message? Was it more about the conditions inside?
I can read it to you. It said he's still sick. Everyone else is still sick. And supposedly they offered medicine to people, but they haven't given it to them yet. They just asked who needs it. They didn't say what they were going to give them, and they never returned. My husband did get another shower, thankfully, and they actually gave him new uniform, although it's too big for him. That's not important, but that just tells me they have too many people there. These are the facts. These are the stories that's coming from the individuals that's in there. So we know the people in the facility has complained about the lack of running water. They have complained about not receiving their medication. They have complained about worms inside their food. And so this idea that this inhumane treatment is not happening, that is coming out of the Florida Department of Emergency Management, if it's not, then prove it. And so we know when we get in there Saturday, we will not see the true way that this place is being run.
Do you know if you'll have an opportunity to talk to some of the folks who are in there directly? Because let us not forget, and I think you touched on this, most recently, the White House press secretary again said these are the people who are the worst of the worst. These are criminal rapists. These are people who have committed terrible crimes. These are people who we need to get out of the country.
No, that's not who's in there. Matter of fact, here's who's in there. Individuals who are in there are individuals who were snatched from their jobs. Individuals who are in there are individuals who were snatched off the street. Individuals who are in there are individuals who went to court, a court date set by the federal government, a date, a time, and everything. But when they walked out, they were arrested and sent to a facility that has given them wristbands and given no food. That's who we know that's in there. And if anyone thinks that that is correct and is morally right, then they are morally bankrupt.
Hatzel, your journalistic colleagues over at the Miami Herald talked to one family member who said, why would we treat a human like that? They come here for a better life. I don't understand. We are supposed to be the greatest nation under God, but we forget that we're under God. When you talk to these folks, do they feel helpless?
Yeah, you're exactly right. They do feel hopeless because there is no access, right? The only time they can talk to them is 4 or 5 minutes at a time during maybe every day. And that's when they're getting the information. That's how they know where they are. Remember, there's no way at this point to track these individuals who are at this facility. Usually, if they're in an ICE facility, you can just type in their name and number, their alien number, and figure out where they are. Because they're in this detention center that's state-run, at this point, all these relatives are trying to figure out if they're there. The only way they can find out is if they get a call from the relatives themselves.
Hatzel Vela and State Senator Shevrin Jones will continue this conversation, but thank you both.